Right, back with poor old Lofty. We're going to see if we can break this engine free and get it to turn over. So I'm going to get the sheet off and first of all tip some freeing lubricant down all the bores and we'll go from there. This is the state of number 3 piston, and it's why the engine is seized up. Right, pour some free lubricant into all of those now. I'm going to let that soak, a little bit of fabrication to do, and then we'll be back. Okay, now this engine has liners in it, which means that that bore, the cylinder there, that bore, is actually separate to the block. It's pressed in. Now I'm not sure if it's a wet linered engine or a dry linered engine. A wet linered engine means that this liner has seals in the bottom, seals in the top, and it forms part of the water jacket. A dry liner means that the inside of the block is very precisely machined to take the liner, and it's pressed in, and the block has the water jacket contained within it. No water touches the liner, they're just pressed in. But obviously, because this cylinder here is going to be seized up quite bad because of the rust that's in it, I don't want the liners to move when I try and turn this engine. So I've made cut these strips of metal, and they're just tucked over the edge of the liners. And what they'll do is, as I turn it over, they'll just act like a clamp, holding those liners in place as I try and turn the engine. Okay then, I've got an access plate off the bottom of Lofty's engine, and I'm just going to try and wedge a bit of a bar in there to see what happens. That just moved. This is really awkward trying to do this. I'm trying to do it one-handed and video it at the same time. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to rotate it in the same direction as the engine would normally rotate, because the inlet valve is the valve that's stuck open, which means the piston that's seized is coming down the stroke. So if I can turn it in its direction of rotation, it will carry on coming down the bore and away from the corrosion. It definitely won't turn the other way. Okay then. Lofty is moving. It's not all over. It's not all over. Just trying to get something in there to prise it with. There you go. She's away. Okie dokie, yeah. Yep. Okay, now I've managed to get that piston to go down in the bore. I've got a bit of coarse emery paper in there, and I'm just trying to take off all the major crud and corrosion that's in the top of that bore. Once I've got all this cleaned up, I'll be able to see if it's really badly pitted or if it was just surface rust, and we'll get away with it. Okay, now I've got all the major rust and crud out that barrel. I've got a glaze busting tool. It's like a honing tool. They're like really fine grindstones which you use for cleaning out bores and glaze busting. Sometimes you get like a glaze in a bore, it's for taking that off. I'm actually using it to clean up the top half of that bore to see how bad it is. So I've got it in there, and I'm sort of spinning it up and down with my drill to try and get it to clean up. While I'm at it, I'm just going to put that glaze busting tool in the top of all the other barrels to just clean any sort of surface corrosion and crap off. I know by rights when you use these tools you're supposed to have the pistons out, and you work the owning tool up and down so you get like a nice 45-degree crosshatch cleaned pattern inside the barrels. But I'm not having this engine out, it's not going to have the pistons out, I'm not going to be able to do that. So all I can do is clean up as best I can what I can get to with the tools I've got. But as you can see there, I've got Lofty turning on the fan, so the engine's getting there, it's getting nice and free. So this could be good, as long as, like I say, when I get to inspect it all at the end, there's no real bad pits or gouges in those barrels. I should be alright, and we'll get it going again. Now I've got it all turning freely, I know that those liners aren't going to move. I can get rid of all my clamps that I've made to clamp the liners down, and that'll allow me to get into all the barrels and the surface of the head to be able to clean it all up properly, and so I can see what's going on. So as I turn it over and I get each piston at the bottom of its stroke, that allows me to get that tool in the top half of the barrel just to clean off any surface rust and crud. So I'm doing 1, I can do 1 and 6 now because those two are at the bottom of the stroke, and then I'll turn it over and I'll do 2 and 5, and then once I've done 2 and 5 I'll turn it over again until 3 and 4 are at the bottom of their strokes, and then I'll be able to do 3 and 4. Okay, so I'm just going to get a cloth now and mop up all the fluid and everything, give it all a good wipe over, and just generally start cleaning it all up so that we can get on with it. Right, so this is what all the bores look like. Now I've sort of gone round with that owning tool. I think this was the bad one, that's come up pretty good. I'm sort of quite happy that this engine will run again. It might burn a little bit of oil, but it's an old engine, it's got a right to. And there's all the others there. They're all actually, they're not that bad. They're all pretty good, cleaned up well. Now what I've done is I've had some emery paper and I've cleaned off the top of the surface of the block. So it's starting to get ready to go back together. You can see the bores, there's some marks in the one that had the corrosion, but they're only marks, surface marks. Now the heads are going to be sent away to be machined, and this is going to stand for a bit. So I've got a load of grease, I've covered all the studs, liners, face of that block in grease to stop any damp getting to it, to corrode it again. I don't want that to happen and go through all the cleaning process again. So it's all cleaned up now and it's ready to start going back together. As soon as I can get some bits, the injectors are going to go away to an injector person and the heads to a head person. So Loft is looking pretty hopeful. Hopefully we should get the heads looked at, and they'll have to be skimmed because there's some pitting on the heads, and it'll have to have a couple of new valves at least, because the valves that were in number 3 are really badly pitted and damaged. The injectors are going to go away to an injector person so they can be reconditioned as well. So it's got a good chance of all coming back together and going well. I'd like to thank you very much for watching this. If you've watched it, if it's been of interest, that's really good. And I'd like to see if you can you give me a thumbs up if you liked it, And if this is the first lofty video you've seen, if you subscribe to my channel, you'll go back. There's a few previous videos of me sort of taking it apart, along with other stuff I've done on a large boat engine and stuff, another project I've got on the go. Like I say, thanks for watching. Thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe if you want more.